visibility, 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 visibility. We write a wild new legacy, 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 legacy. Our voice, our values, our feminine grace. From confidence to stages, we're claiming our space.
I love it. It's the morning wake up here.
Especially for midweek, right? Yay.
Let's claim our space.
Exactly. And the fun thing is we're talking about the space we actually take up, right? Today.
Yes, on this week's visibility strategy with Amy and Christina.
Yep.
Yes, we are talking about some of that inner work and that confidence and coming in with that space. I love the way you just said it, though, is taking it up. How many times do we walk into a room and we are so unsure of ourselves? And what does it take to get out of that? Like, peel that skin off and let
Yes.
ourselves shine.
And know that you're capable and able to take up that space confidently, right? To be like, I own the space I'm in. Because
Yes.
that's what we all want to be able to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, Christina, this has been something part of your world body and how you present yourself has been a part of your world due to dancing. When did you start being more aware of how you present yourself with your body? And what did that do to your confidence or insecurities?
Beautiful question. Because people thought I was a dancer before I was a dancer. I had a mother who was brought up in, for lack of a better term, an aristocratic family in the Philippines, where certain behaviors and manners were taught. So knowing where the fork went and which fork to use, as well as sitting up, shoulders back, head up, no matter how comfortable the couch is that you want to slide into, you sat properly. And as a girl, knees together, knees crossed, and I'm sitting like that right now with my hands right now on my knees. It is ingrained. It was something that was really taught for me as a child to be able to sit properly, stay still, and my mother to this day loves the fact that I can sit still for as long as I did. And how many hours? Okay, some of that training did come from sitting in church and having to sit completely still for 1 hour. So, yes, my mother is still, it's so funny, she actually talked about it not too long ago about, "Oh, my daughters, and they know how to behave and be quiet because of the training." So, I know this came from her mother and her background as well as to why. So, moving into the dance world, I was already in that, "Oh, you must have taken ballet for years." I'm like, "No, I had Tiger Mom. My life was about studying and sitting with my books in good posture." But
Nice.
it's amazing to me, that is something that already comes across as confidence. Whether you're confident or not, standing with good posture
Mhm.
already has an appearance of confidence. So when we walk on the stages, when we step into new rooms, people will turn their head because you're already standing with good posture. It already connotates that
Yes.
you're open to someone to come up and say, "Hi, I'd like to meet you," because who are you with that great posture?
And it's very true. There is a very unconscious signal we're sending to others when we come in smaller, kind of rounded, or we try to scurry to the side of the room versus walking fully into the room and owning that space. And it's okay because the people are, they're going to look because there's movement, right?
Yes.
So, but it's the good look. It's the one you want to say, I'm here.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is when I grew up on the dairy farm. So I grew up like with boots and running around chasing cows, so posture was not a thing for me at all. And I remember one time going to the chiropractor, he goes, you need to move your hips. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, when we walk, we move our hips. No, we don't. Like, so I had to even learn that skill later on because it was actually really messing with my back as a kid because I didn't sway my hip because I was like, no, I'm not that kind of female, 'cause so, I mean, it's interesting. Our upbringings bring us great elements, and sometimes we get lack of information because it's not part of our worlds.
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting to me because being a dancer and having a studio, what is the most scary thing? And I've told everybody is that first step, not dancing, but walking in the door. That's one of the hardest steps. So coming in with a smile, with my shoulders back, and with my hand out to someone who walked through that door for the first time and welcoming them in. That is something that I taught myself to do because it wasn't always my place. Like I said, I was the one who had to sit back and be quiet.
Yeah.
So I had to work through that own confidence and that own inner work of going, okay, if I don't reach out to say hello, how is that person gonna respond to me? They're gonna see me as standoffish and not quite know how to interpret me. But if I can come forward and be the first one to offer that smile and that hand, it opens up that comfort to start the conversation. And it's just a couple little things, a smile,
Mhm.
posture, and then eye contact.
Right?
Ooh.
I loved learning eye contact. Again, it wasn't something I was comfortable with because it was so intimidating to me growing up. I would always look down and I would talk looking down. So now I look people in the eyes and sometimes I notice that they get at, like you're like, oh, they look down. I'm like, oh, I get that. Now it gives me actually a little bit of a clue about where their comfort level is and like where maybe they're not as most comfortable about being in the room either. So then again, it's a kindness to do that to others is to guide them and be their safe space. And it's so much fun being that person for someone. And then I love going around the room also and going, who isn't talking? Who looks like they're awkward and they're waiting for somebody because they're not confident enough to come up to somebody else. Or sometimes everybody gets into little groups and you don't know how to intermix with others in a little group.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for that person that's out there kind of waiting for somebody because they're
Yeah,
always there.
always. There's always somebody who's not quite sure where to be in the room.
And I'll be honest, I've been to so many networking events or I've been to so many different groups. How you enter or how you greet your guests is how they will perceive your group.
Mhm.
And there has been so many great groups where I'm like, nope, not one person approached me. They all stayed in their little clustered and they talked and they were just so excited about it, talking to each other that I was like, nope, this isn't for me. There's so much about themselves that they didn't even notice somebody was just sitting there awkwardly
Yes.
waiting.
Yes. Can I just say 100%? This is where the emoji, the 100% comes up on my feed because those aren't the rooms I wanna be in.
Yeah.
I love to see that they're supporting each other, but they're not ready and open to welcome others. And it was so fascinating. I was at this one little workshop, and these women were talking about that piece of body language of how if I'm sitting there flat with somebody talking and somebody comes up, what do you do?
You pivot.
Exactly.
You kind of give like a triangle, right?
Yes. You
Yes.
invite them in. And if another person comes in, I'll take a step back so that I can invite them into the circle. I might be talking or somebody might be talking. I'll nod, smile, acknowledge. Acknowledging someone is so important. It's just those little acts because you don't know who you're about to meet. You don't know the quality, the value of that conversation that if you don't take that moment to just acknowledge that you may have missed out on.
Oh, yeah. And the thing, it's not just in person, right? Same thing as online. I used to help run an online community where new people would join.
Mhm.
And because everybody really knew each other well that started in the group, every new member started to drop off. And I'm like, okay, guys, we need to include them. You need to make them feel welcome. They're just sitting there, they're one awkwardly waiting. Or have you ever joined a group and you're just like, should I be on this call? And you're like, do I drop? Would anybody notice? Like,
Yeah.
so when you're doing those events, acknowledge them, like you said, right away,
Yeah.
welcome them. Because
Yes.
it does make a difference in their comfort level. And then guess what? They listen and hear better and they comprehend what's happening because they feel welcome versus going, should I leave? Am I in the right call? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. That's what's going through their head.
Yes. Yes. And for some reason, I liken this to our kindergarten brain. It's like we're playing, we're in our own space, but
Yes.
the minute you hear your name, huh? You learn to respond, right? So in those kind of calls, it's like, "Oh, welcome, Amy. Oh, somebody just recognized me." And it's so interesting, and wow, this just brought up one of those thoughts to me again. When I was teaching my instructors how to work with children and adults, it was always important, acknowledge everyone by name at least once in class. Especially for the children, because not only are the children listening, in our studio, I let the mothers sit. A lot of studios put their children or excuse me, the parents away, and I'm like, "They're little ones, let them enjoy." But I let the mothers sit and enjoy this precious moment of their little dancer. Not only was the child recognized, but the mother heard their child's name too. I'm like,
Oh,
"Say it at least once." Because it just brings a joy to be noticed, to be recognized. My teacher knows my name. My presenter of this Zoom call knows who I am. The person throwing this event just came over and shook my hand.
we do love to be recognized. Even though it might be uncomfortable, we still enjoy being recognized
Yes.
because that's how we feel valued or included. And that's what we're looking for is to be a part of something. So if you're running an event that you are all about inclusion, make sure you're including everybody in the room.
Yes.
I see it too many times where it does not happen. And I'm with you, Christina. I kind of like, I don't want to be a part of this group or I don't want to attend this event again.
Yeah.
So it does make a difference in the perspective of who's coming. How are they going to come back? If you're like, hey, nobody's coming back for a second time, think about how you engage with them from the first moment they walk in the door. And then watch their body language. Are they confident? Because then maybe you could introduce them to somebody and then really quickly move, or are they feeling insecure and are they coming in a little bit quieter and looking around, trying to figure things out? Do they need a little bit more time? So it's really great. I love watching body language because it's our first signal to the person that is interacting with us what's happening.
Yes.
It's a great tell, and it just tells me, like, are they feeling comfortable or not? And for me in storytelling, I watch a moment where they stand up straight and they go, and they start talking. I'm like, that's exactly what you need to talk about. That is what you're passionate about. Their body will tell me more than their words. And it's just so much fun to see. And they're like, I did. I'm like, mm-hmm. You're not even aware of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. The face changes. The smile starts to come on versus just being all in your head and just rote talking. That beautiful, like, it just, you see it. It's the muscles itch in the face change when they start to glow with, this is my truth, this is my story, and not just because I've memorized it.
Right? Yes, exactly. And tell me, like, in your experience, Christina, when how do you some people are like, they'll just fake it, right? But how do you see people growing into that confidence with their body? Like, what have you seen techniques that people have tried on?
Absolutely. And I will answer that question.
Share your story, own your name, step in the light, ignite your flame. Show up, shine out, it's time to be heard. Flip fear into power with every word. Visibility, accountability. We write a wild new legacy. Our voice, our values, our feminine grace from comfort.
Oh, I just want to dance, right?
I know. I was dancing backstage. I was like,
I love the question of how I've seen people change. I will never forget this one woman, and her name was Mary, and teaching her how to have posture. Lovely woman, successful in real estate, always hunched over. Because from the time she was a girl, she was a busty girl, and she's a very thin girl. So it was even more noticeable.
Mhm.
And eventually, within a year's time, I got her to stand up and just be proud of her femininity. She wasn't carrying herself like that anymore. And she even talked about how she was showing up in rooms more confidently. She's like, wow, I didn't even realize I'd been doing that my entire life, because somewhere in her teenage years, she was so conscious. Probably people said things to her
Yeah.
that got blacked out somewhere, to now being an adult woman of going, you know what? This is who I am. I embrace my body for what it is,
Yeah.
because it's just me. And that is one of my favorite stories to this day, to watch her, because she even talked about how her sales numbers started to go up as she could present herself a little more confidently. She was confident, but now her body was saying she was confident.
Yes, we take, like I said, we take our cues from people right away from their body language. Even though you're saying something very amazing, we're still watching, right? And I do remember like learning that kind of like, and also there's a lot of great health benefits too to having your shoulders back and away from your ears. And I live in the Midwest where it's cold all winter and we tend to go like this all winter long because we're cold, right? And I have to
Yes.
remember to roll my shoulders back and drop them away from my ears. And I'm like, and I've had to have physical therapy to help me learn to do that, right? Because it's not good for your body and you don't move right. But that's another thing too, is we shrink up and we kind of get like a little bit of a turtle head, like when we're
Mhm.
insecure. And it's like, nope, come out of that. I always think of a turtle, like it's like we're going to like be seen. Our heads need to come out and be a part of our conversation.
Yeah.
And our
Yeah.
shoulders are so important. And our feet are, like, and I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, oh yeah, the CIA will, first thing they do for Americans is teach you not to lean. 'Cause
Mm.
Americans lean on things constant, like, oh yeah, I do lean a lot. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah. So, like be aware of that you're leaning or trying to get to a wall so you can lean. Those are some things too to be very aware of. And I just thought, okay, that's something new to like consciously think about how I stand in a group or present or even, brainstorm. What am I
Mhm.
doing? How am I presenting myself? But yeah, what other techniques have you seen help people, Even just stand, like you said, stand still or sit still for a long period of time, but standing is also one of those things that we start shifting our weight and we move around. Is there a more comfortable stance that you found that is powerful but yet comfortable to do?
Third position.
Okay, explain that one.
It's funny. It's something you learn in modeling. It's something you learn in dance. It's something that, when you start to embrace it, you'll find out it is actually one of the more comfortable positions. So to explain it, with whatever foot that you feel strongest to stand on, whether it's your left foot, your right foot, that's your weighted foot. So for me, it's often my right foot. Taking the heel of the left foot to the arch of the right foot. So in other words, here's my visual for those who can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Putting the heel towards the arch. And you keep your knees slightly bent. It's for your blood circulation and so you don't pass out. But it's a
Right.
it's a very natural way, and then you can flip it around when it's like, "Okay, my standing leg is getting tired, now flip it the other way." And so if you move forward to back, it's not as noticeable as if you're swaying side to side.
'Cause you're shifting your weight because 'cause you're uncomfortable, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And hands? That's another one because that's one of those, "What do I do with these things?" Is there, is get used to that just being there. I mean, as silly as it is, like, when we have to find stillness in sleep, it's getting them, "Do I have a pocket do I wanna put in?" Don't jingle your keys, or your coins. You know, put it in the pocket. One of mine, I love to do this and keep it low because you don't wanna close off your body. Again, one of those signals. When we cross our arms, we're closing off our body. We're telling people, I'm tired or I don't wanna listen to this conversation." But when you're holding your hands and resting them low, they're holding each other and resting on each other. That's an easy way to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing this, it's less noticeable than keeping moving with the putting on the hip, dropping, putting it on the hip. What do I do? Where's my bag? Where's my jacket? Fix my collar. Yeah,
Yes,
just
play with my necklace, whatever you're doing. Yes. Or
yes.
some people will unconsciously play with their hair,
Yeah.
right? I love that. The hands is a great idea because I talk with my hands and I used to really be loud with my hands and they'd be everywhere and I'd hit people and like because I'd be excitable and I'm like, oh God. So I was like, how do I get control of my hands? Like so what I started doing is getting a glass of water. So
Mhm.
I had something to hold that was, like if I tipped it away, it would spill. So I was consciously aware of that water in my hand, allowing me to not focus on my hands or letting that get too big, but allowed it to just kind of come in towards my body. And then eventually when I didn't need the water anymore because I kept my hands in more the box of who I am.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's okay to have your hands just like I was a little crazy. You know? So I had to bring that in. So I love that idea. Like bring it low, keep it comfortable. If you do have your hands, slow it down a little bit, you know,
Exactly.
because you can talk with your hands. Just don't go look at the speed that it's going.
Right, and I agree with that 100%, the speed, because it's more impactful. Because think about it, if you're standing in that group of 4 or 5 people, if somebody moves, your attention's gonna go towards the movement, right? And that is a nice way to break into a conversation, though, of just suddenly the hand comes up and you're like, "Oh, the movement," so that people start to recognize, "Oh, I'd like to put some input," versus the person who's ready to go, "Ah," right before you before you finish your sentence. It's a nice interaction, and I love that about you because you're very, very aware of those little signals when somebody is ready to speak. I've watched you do that, and as a speaker and as someone who's even in the room, I think that's something to pay attention to, those small little signals, and leaving time and room for other people to speak too.
Yes. And the other thing is, if you're the host, Make sure everybody's talking and getting an opportunity, because there are moments where, I've been on your podcast where I'm like, ooh, the person on the top left of my screen hasn't talked in a while. So I'll actually call her out and invite her into the conversation.
Yes.
So it's not always taking the opportunity to talk for yourself, but inviting them in to the conversation.
Yes.
And you do a beautiful job with that too, of trying to get the flow of a conversation involved, because there are moments where you've been in a group and you're like, I didn't get to say a thing. Like, not one person let me in. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I was in those moments so many times when I was younger. Like, I did have something to say, but I couldn't get into the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only person I'm absolutely terrible with is my husband. For some reason, I will block him. My body will actually block him. And I take over, and I'm like, I am so sorry. I did it again. He goes, yep. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a protection thing. I don't know why I do it. So I'm very consciously aware when he's in the room with me that I actually try not to stand by him, because my body language will shift, I think, as a protection thing for him, and like guard him. And it's like, no, that is not appropriate. So be aware of those little tiny things that you do too. And if somebody brings it to your attention, try to think of like, how can you support them?
Yes.
Because even dinner, I don't sit next to my husband for that reason too. I'm like, otherwise I overtalk him. And I'm like, no, Amy, no. You know?
I love it. I love it. Because you know what I'm getting? Here's the dance analogy. The partnership. A conversation is a partnership between two people. So there's sometimes when we lead and there's sometimes when we follow, but we need to pay attention to each other so that when we have those little faux pas, we can say, oops, we can correct that, and we work it out together. And I think that's so neat. And just being able to invite that in and recognize is already a great step for anyone to take.
Yeah. Being aware of how you show up is the first step. It's not trying to correct it, it's just being aware. And then there's power poses. My sister would show me, she was like, go into the mirror before you go into bed and just stand there like Superman and just sit there and smile at yourself. I felt silly doing the power subs, but the smiling at myself in a mirror before going to an event, that worked for me.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever works for you, do it. And sometimes I used to wink at myself, like, you got this. Give myself a little bit of attitude. I'm like, yeah, go out and have fun. Like
Yes. I have a selfie with that where I'm winking at myself saying, you got this. And
Yeah.
it's online somewhere. You can find it.
It might feel silly, but it works so much.
Yes.
Whatever that is. I had a friend who used to do squats before he'd go do something just to get his energy moving and his blood flowing. And I'm like, all right, that you do you. Like, that's the beauty of it. Figure out the routine that works, that gives you that little boost of confidence, that gets your body moving, and then just show up.
Exactly. And it's not, like you said, it's not the same for everybody. So try different things, try on what's going to work, because I think you were in the room when I gave a big whoo right at the Women Getting Visible conference, because I needed to get that energy was building in me. I hope I didn't blow anybody's ears out with that. I tried to do it quietly. But it was just like, oh, when I got that out, I was like, okay, I'm back to me. It was just that excitement, being in the room with all these amazing women. And it's just like, because, part of us, when we're empaths, we take in that energy from everybody. And it's like, okay, I've got to shut that down a little bit because it is boiling over the top here.
Yes.
But in those moments, and sometimes it's walking out of the room and being quiet for a moment, which there was another guest who needed to do that because, again, she was feeling all the energy and taking it all in. And that's where she needed to be. So it's really interesting. We have little things. It's just finding the one that's right for us.
Yeah. And our bodies will tell us exactly what we need. Always.
Yeah.
just got to listen to it and learn how to be confident in it, because when we shine. And that's the whole point, right? When we want to be visible, we want to shine, we want to be noticeable. But we want to be noticeable for the right things and be recognized for who we are. So the next time somebody walks in that room, go up and invite and be inviting and introduce yourself. Encourage them to come and join another group. That's okay too. Like, hey, I think you would really love this group. Go over and like hand them off. But you're doing it with the right reasons. Yeah. They might need it, or you're like, oh my gosh, I know somebody you can meet. Here you go. Because that's what we need. It's just a little bit of a helping hand sometimes, and sometimes we don't. That's the beauty of it.
Exactly. Well, we'll be sharing more tips and our Visibility Accountability Wednesday, 7 p.m. Join us tonight, my friends. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Visibility Strategy. I'm Christina.
And I'm Amy.
Until next time.
Yes.
Share your story, own your name, step in the light, ignite your flame, show up, shine out, it's time to be heard, flip, feel